Good morning and welcome to Wednesday. It's March the 22nd, 2023, and it's time for the Education Town Hall here on We Act Radio, which is located in the heart of downtown Anacostia, Southeast Washington, D.C., down the street from the big chair. However, we are now coming to you live from our virtual platforms that I consider to be Anacostia adjacent. I want to first begin by thanking the creator for this day and for the opportunity to present to you the latest installment of the Education Town Hall. This is your humble servant and host, Thomas Bird, and I will be joined shortly by my associate producer, Valerie Jablo. I want to say to everyone, I believe this is going to be a tremendous show because one of the constituencies that I created this show for, which are parents, are here joining us today. We have parent leaders at a number of schools from Burrville Elementary. We have the PTO president, Asia Moon, from Eastern High School PTO. The president is Amy Weedon. Garfield's PTO officer is Brandi Reese. And from Houston Elementary School, the PTO president is Shakuwra Camphor. And last but not least, Hendley's PTO president, Ciera Gibson, are all joining us today to get a parental or parent leadership perspective on their schools and DCPS in general. And so that's why I created this show, so you guys can have access to the public square and talk back to the powers that be. But I'm going to tell you, I particularly like students. I love them too now. So we'll have to make that happen in the near future, parent leaders. And so with that said, I'm going to step aside and I'm going to throw it over to Valerie to get this conversation started. But before that, I want you all to, when you start out, to introduce yourselves and let us know how long you've been in the position you're in and why you got involved in that in the first place. And then Valerie will probably initiate the conversation. So why don't we just go ahead and start with Ciera? Ciera? Okay, let's move on to Brandi.
Hi, I'm Brandi Reese, and I am currently serving as the PTO treasurer at Garfield Elementary. We have been an official PTO this year, actually. This school year, we've been trying to kind of get it together through the pandemic, and we were able to finally submit for our 501c3 status and all that good stuff this year. So we're actively moving right now. Glad to be here.
Fantastic. Amy?
Right. I'm Amy Weedon. I'm the PTO president at Eastern Senior High School. I have a sophomore there. This is my first year as the PTO, but I was PTO president at Maury and Elliott Hine before that, so I'm very familiar with the process. Happy to be here.
Very good. Asia?
Hi, I'm the PTO president over at Burrville, the Ville on the Hill, and this is my first year there. I have a fourth grader at Burrville, so next year will be my last year, hopefully my best year. We are pushing into next year for our 501c3 paperwork. This year has really been about standing up the program and gaining the trust of the parents. So just be able to establish a foundation for PTO.
Okay, great. And last but not least, Shakuwra. It seems like we lost Ciera. Hopefully she'll get back with us. Shakuwra?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Shakuwra Camphor. I'm PTO president at Houston Elementary School. I'm actually also on the LSAT committee for Houston Elementary School and a part of the Chancellor Board's committee. So I do work with Chancellor Furby. We have meetings every month for that. And I joined the Houston PTO because I just wanted to partner with the students, the staff, and try to make changes in the school, try to get our PTO up and running again after the pandemic.
All PTO leaders should be a part of the LSAT. That's just, there's a spot on it for all of you. So if you're not on it, get on it.
Well, do all your schools have LSATs?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Because not all DCPS schools have LSAT, so I thought I would just, ask that. I'm just curious to know, how has this school year been for you guys at schools And just talk a little bit about your school communities and how it's been going. Shakuwra, why don't you start?
As far as our school community has actually been going pretty well. Like I was saying before the broadcast started, we actually just started the PTO back up in November this year. We had our first in-person family fun night at Chuck E. Cheese a couple weeks ago, so that was great. Got to meet a lot of new parents. They came out, supported our fundraiser and things like that, and just trying to plan some more activities with that we can do and partner with the school right now.
Okay, I want to just move to Ciera Gibson. Are you okay now, Ciera? Can you just introduce yourself and talk about? You need just to unmute yourself. Uh-oh. What? We're not quite here. Okay, there we go. Yeah.
You can hear me now.
Uh-oh.
Seems like we have a connection issue with Ciera.
She's on mute.
I can
yeah, it's clear you're hearing us and we're not hearing you. That's the only
right.
issue.
You're breaking up. I don't know if you have a connection issue or a weak signal.
Are you in Hendley right now? Because DCPS schools are notorious for having poor internet connection. Yes, everybody's nodding their heads.
Yeah.
So you might want to get closer to wherever a router or something, wherever, I don't know where your connection emanates from, but you might want to be closer. Okay, but we'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Asia, talk to us about your time this school year at Burrville. How's Burrville doing?
I believe Burrville is a wonderful community of parents and educators, and they have exceptional students there. So it's been pretty seamless to garner the support of the other parents, just trying to figure out what works, how do the parents respond, what's the best way to actually reach and communicate with the parents, and how to get them involved. I found that a lot of the parents do want to be involved. They're looking forward to coming back into the school and supporting the students as best as they possibly can, whether it be with academic success or support, but also to be able to see them perform and pull things together. So just being able to bridge that gap between the needs of parents and what they want to see, as well as what the teachers are trying to do as well. I've been working very closely with the Family Engagement Committee at Burrville. We've developed a very loving partnership where we're able to actually reach out into the parent groups and figure out what they want and try to make some of those things actually happen for them.
So, Asia, you said you have a parent engagement committee. Is that a part of the PTO, or is that a separate organization?
So the PTO is parent-led, it's run, but the family engagement is actually run by the faculty at the school. And so it is a completely separate entity, which I think is very interesting, but we do combine efforts and work together. It actually just increases manpower on building out programs and doing things for the kids and doing things for the school-wide. That way we aren't pulling solely from the resources of PTO or pulling solely from the resources of the Family Engagement Committee.
Interesting.
Ciera, are you with us here now? Can you introduce yourself and talk to us just a bit about your involvement with the PTO at Hendley?
Our PTO, we just got it up and running this year, the school year. We just our first little function, which was Valentine's Day. Thought about giving out the Valentine's cards, but those became out real successful. And our next one will be the Dollar Donut Day, which is next month. So we're trying to get the ball running and, going and, donate, to help us fund and stuff.
Fantastic. So, Brandi, can you talk a little bit about your year at Garfield? Like, how has it been? It's been pretty eventful, hasn't it?
Yes, we've had an eventful year at Garfield. We're actually going through a lot of transition. Our school is being renovated, so we've been relocated to the old Davis as a swing school currently. We also have a transition with leadership. We're right now we're going through the process of figuring out if our interim principal is going to stay or if we're going to go to panel with DCPS to have a new principal. So we've just had a lot of transition to include, of course, coming back to school post pandemic. So it's been a lot of transition. And so with the establishment of the PTO, we're just trying to make sure, much like Ms. Moon, trying to figure out the best ways to engage our parents and to involve our parents. We have had some parents interact with us. I just happen to be at the school a lot. And so I have the opportunity to speak with parents and, get their ideas and kind of be a liaison between the parents and the faculty and staff. And so, just taking that information and trying to push it into our PTO so that we can get some initiatives going. So we've been able to set up, our 3 initiatives that we really want to start with to build a foundation, trying to put our administrative processes in place, things of that nature, so that we have a legitimate PTO and showing parents that, if we are looking for fundraising activities and things of that nature, it's not just going into some abyss, and showing that we are actually a fully functioning PTO. And so that's pretty much what we're doing now. So, but I think I'm hopeful for the years to come, considering I have a kindergartner and a pre-K4, so I'm not going anywhere for a while. So hoping to really get things established there and get some traction going for the 2023-2024 school year.
Awesome. And so, Amy, how's the year at Eastern?
I think maybe a little bit similar to Ms. Reese. We have a new principal this year at Eastern. Our longtime principal, Mr. Brown, moved over to Jackson Reed, and so we actually swapped, and we have their assistant principal now as our principal, Mr. Miller. And so I think it's just really been, it's been a good year, and I think it's also just been a year of just sort of feeling things out, seeing how things are going. He's really dug in, I think, and really listened to the community and tried to figure out what needs to happen. So there haven't really been any big changes there, which I think is absolutely just fine and what you want to see when somebody comes into a school. But we're doing well. Our enrollment is doing really, really well. We just got approved for a new academy. So we're going to have a new IT academy in addition to our Health and Medical Sciences Academy. And our IB program. So I think it's an exciting time at Eastern. And I think, I think we're on a good trajectory for that. And really, I think looking forward to sort of what we can do in this next building phase. We're also celebrating our 100th anniversary of the school. And so next week we have a huge 100th anniversary celebration. So being a part of something that's been around this long and such a deep part of the DC is just really exciting.
Fantastic. I just, Valerie, if you don't mind, I just want to share with our guests that this subject is close to my heart because I've been fully immersed in parent organizations for a long time in DCPS schools. Some of you may have heard me mention earlier, I was PTA president at Burrville a couple of times. In between, I came back because the president that replaced me stole all the money, so I had to come back and stabilize it. Yeah, so and then I got recruited to DC PTA, which is in this case citywide PTA, and I was responsible for all Ward 8 schools PTAs. So I've established PTAs at Hendley Garfield on a number of occasions, and I've worked with a number of schools. And then when I left there, I went to, nobody's probably ever heard this, but the DC Parent Information Resource Center. And it's defunct now because the infinite wisdom of President Obama, they cut the funding for it. But it was set up in wards 1, 7, and 8 to work with every school in those wards to increase parental involvement. And so the reason why I share all that with you is because I want to ask each of you, I'm going to put you on the spot. I know you're fairly new in your position, but I want you to let us know, define what is parental involvement, what is parental engagement, Okay, because I don't know if you know, but there's two different things there. So I want to hear your thoughts on each of those: parental involvement. What is parental involvement? What's parental engagement? Whoever
But,
wants to start.
But before, well, can we just let Ciera talk about
Oh,
how?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ciera. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I jumped the gun.
No. It's okay. That's a really good, important thing. So go ahead, Ciera. Hendley, how's the year?
It's going so good so far. Like as far as like our kindergarten through first grade, their reading scores that went up from 23 to 78%. So we're doing good, doing good on that. And then our parents come out to like our little parents brunch and engaging with us as well with the teachers and staff.
So do you want to take it from here and go and answer Thomas's question? What does parental involvement mean to you?
Mainly it's like engaging, like more parents interacting with the students, the staff members, also like the funding, the like as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so with like Houston Elementary, that was actually one of the big things that we wanted to get started this year. Me being a new parent last year, my child's first coming into school, and we came in the pandemic, right? So it was like really hardly any in-person activities. When you got your little baby going to school, it's like, oh my God, you can't walk into the building now. You can't go to their classroom because it's the pandemic. So now that we're kind of out of that, and definitely a lot of the parents are wanting to come back into the school and wanting to be more engaged and come to events and activities. We're definitely partnering with Houston to try to get more engagement. Houston has been doing a pretty good job at having more events. Earlier this year, we had our literacy night, which was a pretty big turnout. A lot of parents came. We had a PTO table. So that was actually our first in-person event for PTO. And we were able to draw all the parents that were coming to literacy night to also come to our PTO table, sign up for membership and things like that. So, for Houston, it's just trying to partner with the school and trying to get these parents to come out and be more engaged and things like that. Now, as far as involvement, I think it's just a continuous blast of hey, come out, hey, come out, hey, come out. And people always want to come out for food. So, just maybe trying to plan some more events that, hey, come get some free food, come get a slice of pizza, come talk to the PTO. So just trying to, as all of us, especially the executive board members, go up to the school, we're always talking to parents. We're always saying, hi, hey, have you heard about the next PTO meeting? Can you join? And things like that. And we're actually having our first in-person PTO meeting next Monday. So we're really excited about that. This is our first PTO in-person in the school event. So we're hoping that we get a good turnout for that.
I can go next.
Go ahead.
Yes, Asia, please.
So this is actually something I mentioned in another meeting at another committee that has nothing to do with parents, but I use this example because they were trying to mitigate some issues of who wanted to do what. And what I had highlighted was the fact that in Burrville, I have parents who can come to meetings in the morning, parents who can come to meetings in the evening, and parents who can't come to meetings at all. I have parents who have money to donate, but cannot actually participate. I have parents who will man a concession stand, and I have parents who will send kids with money to facilitate that concession stand. And so we have a good balance, I think, of parent involvement and parent engagement, because everybody can find a way to show up that's best for them. And so I try not to force a person in either direction. I just kind of have been like sitting back and watching and observing where people show up and how they show up, and just encouraging them to do more of that, what they feel comfortable doing. So that's actually been working because it is self-led and self-guided as best as possible, but I do get much better results that way, as so I've seen so far.
Asia, you're on to something, because evidence has proven over the years that you have to meet parents where they are. Okay, you have to meet them where they are, and like I said, I consider myself somewhat an expert in this, but I want to get into that part, but I want to talk about some other issues in the second half. But I wanted to get through these things on the first. We'll give Amy a chance to weigh in.
And Brandi too.
And Brandi as well.
Okay, I'll go next. I mean, I think high school looks so different than elementary school in terms of everything. In high school, you want the staff to really be working with the kids primarily. And I think parents at that point really engage differently. And so the PTO plays just a very, very different role. And I see our job as really sort of understanding what the needs are within the community and where the communication gaps are, and then seeing where we can fill them. Because at this point, generally parents are engaged in whatever activities the student is involved in. And that's where we want them to put their efforts, whether it's, fundraising for the basketball team or helping out with our esports club. Parents really want to be connected to what the student is doing. And so our job is to just say, hey, activity leader, do you have what you need? Hey, parents, are you and your students getting what you need out of this? And how can we help bridge the gaps, bring up any challenges that are being faced, be an advocate? And really, we're a clearinghouse. We're a clearinghouse for money. We're a clearinghouse for issues or opportunities, and really making sure that all the parties within the school are really engaging for maximum benefit. So we're just eyes and ears and a pair of hands. And I think that works really well, again, in making sure that parents are really leading and advocating where they want to be, and they just feel like they have some place to go if things aren't working the way that they want, or teachers and staff feel like they have somewhere to go if they need something.
Brandi?
I kind of view engagement and involvement as like a cyclic or give and take relationship. In order to, and I guess it depends on wherever you want to start. I look at it as the engagement is kind of sort of initiated by the school.
Bingo.
And the involvement comes in from the parents.
Bingo.
I don't know what comes first, the chicken or the egg, though. I think that the teachers unfortunately carry the burden of engaging the parents so that they want to be involved. And again, it is a burden, but I think that if we have a few parents that are involved and show teachers that parents do want to be involved, they have a tendency to engage more. And so, I think that sometimes we get it confused and think that parents are supposed to engage and that teachers are supposed to make parents involved. And that's, to me, it's just not the case. I think that as long as we have our teachers and our leadership engaging the parents, you will create the involvement of the parents with the school.
Now, there was no wrong answer in that question, but Brandi is spot on. Spot on. And this comes from the number of studies that have been done over many, many years. But that's exactly the nail on the head. And so a lot of folks need to understand that, because that's vital in the work that you all are doing, to understand what the dynamics that are at play here. And I think you all, like I said, being new to your roles, part of this opportunity is for you guys to share, your thoughts, but also, however I can give back. And I do want to give back, in this forum and going forward as well, because there was one other piece I wanted to get into. We want to get into some issues. I know there are issues at each one of your schools, and I was kind of trying to say that for the second half. I wanted to get out, some of these other things. None of you have probably heard of a curriculum called Parents as Partners. If you have, raise your hand. Okay, nobody's heard, because it no longer exists. I still have that curriculum, because we used to teach it in Ward 1, Ward 7, and Ward 8 schools to all parents, because you want to teach parents to be, I heard this word, advocates. They're their children's advocates. But sometimes they need to learn how to do that. And so you want to offer that opportunity. We had a formalized curriculum. It was an 8-week curriculum that parents attended once a week. And we had a lot of parents that went through that curriculum to understand how to negotiate the school system, their particular school, how to understand acronyms, how to be involved in their child's school. And then at the end, they had a meeting with the principal to demonstrate that knowledge. Okay, and for the principal to see who their leaders were in their school, because these parent leaders, they were stepping up, getting this knowledge and understanding. And so we ran that for from 2007 to 2011 when our funding was taken away from us. But I always thought that was a good program. And so maybe, if any of you want to, I'll be glad to share the curriculum with you, because I think the company owned it is defunct now too, so they can't do anything to me.
Well, can I add something in here that I wanted you guys to weigh in on in preparation for the second half? It's just, do you feel like there is an advocacy role for parents and at your schools, and how do you prepare parents for that? Anybody?
I mean, I would actually love to get that curriculum from Mr. Bird, because we actually just because we announce our PTO meetings, and so after Mr. Booker at our school had posted it, underneath the post I put, come and be an advocate. I use the word advocate for your child, and I mean I would love to have a little class or presentation on advocacy, because a lot of people don't know how to do that. They know how to say, oh well, is something going on, is something wrong with my child and I need to go complain about it. But how do you truly advocate for your child to get them the services they need, to get them the help they need to make the situation better, besides just complaining? Because, we can all complain, but, if you want to actually make the situation better, you have to be an advocate. And, to do that, in Houston, I think that would just be, trying to work with the staff, trying to find out what's next, trying to prepare your child, and also try to, just see how you can help your child with the resources that are available. And a lot of people don't know resources that are even available. So
that's exactly right. And as parent leaders, you want to build a critical mass. That's going to be your army. They're going to give you great weight in your school.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna shut up. I've been doing too much talking.
No, anybody else want to weigh in on this?
And I just want to give you a heads up. At 12:30, we'll take a quick pause. I'll say some things, and then we'll continue the conversation at 12:30. Okay.
I guess I could speak up in regards to Garfield. I too, like Ms. Camphor, I think our parents need some form of education on advocacy. So Mr. Bird, you can go ahead and shoot that over my way as well. I think that a lot of times we don't recognize that the complaining and the arguing and the seemingly fighting is the frustration of not knowing how to advocate for yourself, or years of believing that you've been advocating for yourself and not being heard. And I think that that's a problem that we face in Ward 8, in Ward 7 and 8 in general. And so I think that is, I have not been able to do it on a grand scale as far as the entire school is concerned. But at Garfield, we also started a autism parent support group called Bigger Picture. And within that support group, we provide essentially a curriculum of how to deal with your child, understanding diagnoses, all those other things. And we teach you how to advocate for your child in those specific areas. Now, it was a little bit more of a controlled area, but just capturing that small controlled area, we've been able to help parents advocate for their children, know what questions, or at least brainstorm the questions that they need to ask teachers to get better services, where to find services, things of that nature. And so I think if we're able to do that on a larger scale for the entire community, it would just serve everyone better. The parents, the teachers, the staff, everyone. It would make life much easier.
I mean, you mentioned the LSAT, and I think there's a huge opportunity and connection between what's happening on the PTO side and the LSAT side, because I think you brought up a good point around, if people aren't hurt, I mean, if nothing happens, people just get tired. Advocacy only works if there's action on the other side. Otherwise, people stop saying things. If they don't feel like they ever see anything change, they just stop believing that it's possible. And so I know we found really good results with taking those things that we're hearing, the PTO's hearing, and elevating that up to what goes on the LSAT agenda, and then what came into our budgets, and what we looked at for next year, what we heard from parents, and saying, these are the things that we need to be addressing, and then using the LSAT to be held accountable and be that action point. Because the PTO can't be the one to resolve those issues, but they can be the ones to translate those to the places where those things can happen.
Fantastic. We've reached the bottom of the hour. I just want to remind folks that are listening live, as well as those who are listening to the replay, you are tuned in to the Education Town Hall here on We Act Radio, which is located in the heart of downtown Anacostia, Southeast Washington, D.C., down the street from the Big Chair. However, we are now coming to you live from our virtual platforms that I consider to be Anacostia adjacent. And joining us on the show today, we have some wonderful parent leaders. We have the PTO president, Asia Moon from Burrville Elementary, the president, Amy Weedon from Eastern High School, treasurer, Brandi Reese from Garfield Elementary, president, Shakuwra Camphor from Houston Elementary, and president, Ciera Gibson from Hendley. And we are certainly glad that you all are with us today. This is outstanding that parents are able to join us on the Education Town Hall. And I mentioned earlier that we want to get into issues, so we'll kind of spend the second half of the show talking about what your issues are. And I know Valerie has some that she wants to focus on, so I'll let her get started with that, and I'll chime in at some point because I have a couple I want to bring up as well. So over to you, Valerie.
Thank you, Thomas. So we've been talking about advocacy, and certainly I'm a DCPS parent myself, and every single year that I have been a DCPS parent, the main point of advocacy has been related to the budget. Today, as we speak, the mayor is releasing her budget, and a lot of schools have gotten proposed budgets, DCPS budgets, that are not sufficient, and they are not going to be good. And so I wanted you all to talk about this at your own schools, and also in terms of advocacy. What does this mean for advocacy? Because, we are sitting here and we're talking with one another on a virtual platform, and we have the time to do this, as we might have the time to testify before the DC Council and say why our school budgets are inadequate. But there are many parents who don't have that freedom. And what you said, Asia Moon, just really struck me. We have to, give parents a way to show up. And so I wanted to start off this half of the show talking about your school budgets and, how will you show up with those? So Asia, please take it away.
Just gonna put me on the spot. So I want to go back to advocacy really, really quick because I know we had to transition. But I do want to say that at Burrville, one of the ways that I find myself mitigating some of the advocacy issues is kind of like translated. And I'm realizing now in this conversation that I'm probably crippling my community by doing this. But what I've been doing is actually translating some of the issues that they can, because they're very vocal, they're very, they will speak up for themselves the best way that they know how, with the power that they have within them. And so I'm able to translate those to a place where power exists and where the changes can be made. So that way they are able to see some type of immediate shift, change, or rearrange. Because like Amy said, when they don't see anything happen, then they stop talking. And that's what we don't want. We want them to be vocal. We want them to say what they're really feeling. We want them to be honest. And so, by being able to just build these trust relationships, not only with the parents, but also with the administration. And so that kind of transitions into what this budget actually looks like for us. Of course, we want to ramp up our fundraising efforts in order to be able to, bring in additional support that may be necessary for maybe the teachers, maybe the students, or maybe for both. We're just looking at the areas in which we can evoke change as a parent-led organization, and even considering applying for some grants, looking at grants. What does that look like, and how can we mitigate some of these costs for additional resources, making an assessment of what resources are available to us, what we actually need as a school community, and how can we bring those things in without having to come out of pocket, out of our budget, but being able to actually like get the grant money. So
Anybody else?
Same exact thing. Same exact thing. We
I'm asking about this because, I'm painful. I've watched many hours of testimony before the DC Council, and I don't want to say it's always the same people who show up, but
it's always the same people that show up.
It's not merely that. It's just the idea that you have to show up and scream to be heard is really disturbing to me, and it's been disturbing for many years. I remember once years ago at a hearing about, I think it was on DGS and modernizations. I walked into a council member's office, and a staffer was trying to listen in, but the hearing was going on, and it was a staffer for council member Marion Barry for Ward 8, and the council and the staffer said, "Oh, are the parents from Orr there?" And this was a school that had tremendous physical decrepitude. And I said, "No." And she said, "Oh, well." Like, there was nothing she could do unless those parents showed up. And I thought, this is just really backwards. The parents aren't there, and therefore nothing will happen. And that is how it works. And it's so frightening. So I wanted you guys to just talk about that in terms of your budget. So
I have some thoughts on that, just not only in relation to budget, just overarching. Just like Ms. Camphor, I too represent Ward 8 on the Chancellor's Parent Advisory Board. And within my application, that was actually one of the things that I spoke about, the fact that my interest in being on the advisory board was that this ward just doesn't have the capability to show up the way that all the other wards show up. Just being quite frank, and I'll just throw this out here right now, I'm extremely blunt, but the median income here has been under $40,000 for years. When you're looking at income levels of that nature, more than likely you're working in a labor job. You don't have the time to actually take off work to show up to testify, because you have to decide, am I going to make enough money to put food on my table or go advocate for my child? And so I think when we, the disparities, and it's much deeper than just where is the money being allocated in the schools. It's literally, you don't care about the demographic of people within the ward. And so Ms. Moon, you just said something that it kind of touched my heart, but I really hope that you know that what you are doing, it's not crippling. I think that those of us that have the ability to translate and speak up on behalf of those individuals that do not, we have that responsibility. And then if you have the blessing to be able to translate that information, it just makes it that much better. And so when we start speaking about budget, I don't know, it's another one of those chicken or the egg thing. Being on the advisory board, I had the opportunity to learn a little bit more about how budgets were allocated and how the cost per student was calculated. That is not told to the schools. It's not told to the parents. And so, I'm upset about the fact that we don't have funding, little things, for example, we asked for a security guard so that we could have the meetings for our autism parent support group. We asked someone from the school board, would you provide 1 hour a month? And they were telling us, pull it out of your budget. And I was sitting here with the teachers and everything, and I got upset. And I said, look, lady, the reality is that $240 that we're asking for somebody to come in and just be there for an extra hour, that the need for it is one, life or death coming out of our school with the potential of being shot. I said, so it's a need. I said, but when you look at our budget for a school that's up in Northwest, Deal or something like that, literally it's a line item that gets lost in translation when they're buying donuts for the teachers. $240 for us is the difference between our children not having crayons or not. So I understand that the budgets, I understand that we may get more money cost per student, but the reality is if we don't have the same enrollment numbers and we don't, because our schools don't look that great, so parents don't want to enroll our children in school, the money is not going to be there. And so I think that what DC has to do is look at that from that perspective. Our enrollment numbers are down because our schools are not resourced properly. And so what you're going to have to do is put an influx of cash, just like a business. You need to push an influx of cash to these schools so that they can get up to par with the rest of the schools that look attractive, so that individuals want to enroll their children in the schools and then balance things out. And so, you say this, I think that the problem is that going back to the demographic of individuals in this area, most don't understand, and this is not a hit to the parents in this area. Literally, the education has not been provided to have that level of understanding. And so it's not until you have the parent leaders like ourselves that go into these meetings and speak the language that they understand, are you able to affect some change? And that's the sense of responsibility. I can speak for myself, and hopefully all the ladies on this call, same situation. We have to be able to speak up for that.
Hey, I've been sitting here patient. I just got to chime in. So I'm from Ward 8, born and raised in Southeast. Okay. And so there was a rich history back in the day in Ward 8. There were trusted rabble rousers from Ward 8. I call them rabble rousers because that's what they were. They spoke loudly and clearly. I can name some names: William Lockridge, James Bunn, Ab Jordan. Those myself. But the thing of it is, having leaders that need to understand the lingo. That's why I mentioned before about parents as partners. You have to understand the terminology. You have to understand the processes. There's so much you have to understand in order to take that fight to the powers that be. That's the first step, understanding. Then this next step is to take the fight to them. And I'll just mention this real quick. The Ward 8 Education Council back in the day, we were the first that demanded a regular meeting with the chancellor. They wasn't having regular meetings with a Ward Education Council. We demanded it, and we got it. Then other ward councils said, well, we want to do that too. So then they decide, oh, maybe that's a good idea. But we demanded it. You have to make demands and have the critical mass standing behind you to make that demand effective. Don't get me on I want to get on my
well, I wanted someone else to step in because I saw all of you nodding when Brandi was talking, and I thought, this is hitting the nerve. Go ahead, Ciera.
Okay, when she was talking about the advocacy and the advocacy, we're gonna be actually talking about that in our next parents brunch, which is next Tuesday. We have it once a month. A parents brunch. It's always the end of the last Tuesday of the month. So the advocacy, we're gonna talk about that next week. But as far as the budget, I have a PK3 little girl. So I kept on our DCPS, we have a meeting, I guess like every once a month. And like today I have to go to another meeting when I leave here. But I asked them about this school budget, the budget for the PK3, because they get enough school yet. But every grade level in this school has been on a field trip except for the baby. And once I asked them about the budget for the babies, I got a result back and said, oh, they have funding for the talk about to do different.
We're losing you.
Yeah.
You're losing me?
Yeah. It's the DCPS curse of the internet.
They're trying to silence you.
Yeah, but I mean, Brandi made a lot of good points about, just having that information, and then when Mr. Bird was saying, about he was going to give us the information about the advocacy. I mean, I think it's the information that we have to even be able to speak from a place of knowing, because you can't really speak on something if you don't know how the process works. You can't say, oh, well, this child needs something. Well, how do they go about doing that? How do we know how do they go about doing that? So, I think our role as PTO presidents and leaders, in our community, in our schools, is to try to get this information, and bring it and spread it to the masses, so then we all can have a better chance to advocate for ourselves and for our students. And as far as the budgets and things like like that. I mean, Houston was actually pretty blessed this year. Our enrollment numbers, just like Miss Reese was saying, you know, are going to kind of be staying the same. And the good thing about Houston is we actually just had a modernization in 2019. So our school is, like, when my child went to school last year, it was brand new. So I'm very appreciative for that. And the other good thing about Houston is we did get, you know, money to continue our full Spanish immersion program. So I think, you know, we're one of the only DC public schools east of the river that has we will now have a full Spanish immersion program. And I think that can draw a lot of more, you know, possibly potential parents, students, and families to our elementary school, because honestly, that was the reason why I went to Houston, because I wanted my child to learn Spanish, you know, because as we all know, as the world evolving, it's so important to have more than one language if it's possible. You know, a lot of us growing up, we didn't get that opportunity in school, but if it's an opportunity and you can use that in the in the school lottery, you know, to choose a school with these different programs and things like that, then that will make the school more attractive. So
I just have a quick question. Does either of you know the name Mary Levy?
Any of you?
You all need to talk to her.
Yeah.
She's a budget expert. She can teach you the language. She can teach you where the bodies are buried, because DCPS has been opaque over the years with regard to their budget. They play so many games, it's kind of hard. Mary is the preeminent expert in that field. So, you know, Valerie can connect you all with her, but I would advise you all to talk to her.
Yeah. I'm putting her Twitter handle into the chat.
And I hate to put her on the spot like this, but I can't.
Oh, she would love it.
She loves doing this. She loves doing this.
That's what she's here for.
You're going to owe us a list of a lot of stuff when we get off here. Curriculums, all kinds of things.
But the point I'm trying to make is, you don't have to have all the knowledge yourself initially, but you have to surround yourself with those who do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. As a leader, if you don't have the knowledge right now, find out who does and get with them. And you know, and just one. I'm trying to be brief. I'm being very brief. Ward A had so much power back in the early 70s that DCPS allowed them to create their own school district.
Mm-hmm.
The Ward A parents and community ran a block of 12 schools in the ward. Mm-hmm. Now tell me that ain't power. All right, go ahead, Valerie.
One of the reasons I wanted to have a show with Ward 7 and 8 DCPS parent leaders is because Ward 7 and 8 have the most students in the city, and it should be the center of our DCPS power and planning. And I have been a DCPS parent for almost 20 years, and I can truthfully say that in none of those years has that ever been true. And I think it goes into a lot of issues of class that Brandi was talking about, but it makes me very angry, and I don't want to just be angry. I want to do something, and that is, you know, what React Radio is about. Do something. So, you know, with the time that we have left, I wanted each of you to talk about this. What is the do something that you want to do as parent leaders, and what is the do something that you want DCPS to do? So,
I'll go first.
Yeah,
I have a big do something. So my do something specifically for Burrville, specifically for that community, is to evoke healing. I want to evoke a healing that trickles from the students all the way up through the administration. And when I say through the students, I mean through those households. I mean through the way that these students are connected to the trauma that they're experiencing, the ways that the students' trauma, it directly affects the teachers, and the way that the teachers feel when they are confronted with these students who are dealing directly with the trauma that they're experiencing. What I would like to see from DCPS, and I think Mr. Bird, this is another great conversation to have, is to see more on-site staff support for mental health for the teachers. I would love to have a conversation about this because I can go hours about this. But I think outside of budget, outside of advocacy, outside of actually going to the council and having these conversations with the decision makers, there's a change, there is a peace, there is a healing that can be evoked at the baseline level in the schools that will affect the community. Because if we're being honest, the issues that exist in the community are directly affecting the school itself. And so to be able to develop a center of trauma healing, trauma informed healing. And I don't mean sending these teachers to a PD where they can learn more trauma informed instruction, but I mean directly dealing with it, like actually confronting it in the face of it. I think that is my due. I think that is what I want to see. I want to see it happen. I think that I am bending over extremely backwards to make it happen, as much as I possibly can. And I think my first step in my do something is to build trust. And that's what I've been doing all year is just building trust on the administrative side, teachers, students, and parents, which is a tremendous upheaval now that I think about it, but it's happening.
And we got about 8 minutes left, so I want everybody to chime in, but be a little brief. Who's next? Who's doing something?
Ciera, you want to give it a go with DCPS muting you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Okay. I don't know. My dues is for basically it's like for more parents to come out and also to help and get involved, not just with the PTO, like as far as like the schools and how deal with the kids as well as knowing that these what's going on. Stop, leaving your kids walking home by themselves. Like at least take them knowing what's going on nowadays. Your kid might not come home. And you're gonna be wondering, why. So that's like mine is for like the parents to do that. And for the community, more security. There's more security around these kids.
Yeah, for me, like Brandi was saying, when we actually applied to be on the Chancellor Parent Advisory Board, we had to say why we wanted to be, on that board. And this was actually before I was even kind of thinking about being PTO president. But, the main reason that I just wanted more, I wanted to be more involved. And I want to translate that over to the parents. I want the parents to want to come out. And I mean, I completely understand, like with the schedules and everything, like people have to work, people have to do things. But, hey, if you can't make every meeting, try to make one. If you can't make every event, try to make one. But I just want the parents to come out more to support the students and the staff more, because like Asia said, it's hard for the teachers too if you can't get any parent support. Dropping off your kid and picking them up, that's a good start, because we want the parents to be, we want the kids to come to school, but we also want the parents to, speak to the teacher about things, come back to the PTO meetings and speak to us about things and saying, hey, I see this going on, I see that going on, how can we change it? So to me, it's just building the community engagement and the family and parent engagement with the PTO and the staff at Houston to try to work together to just make everything better for everyone.
All right, who's next?
I think for me, my
do something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's about for me, it's support and teaching people to fight. I think that for me. I recognize that the teachers, like Asia was saying, they're tired. They're tired. They don't feel like they have any support. And so as a parent, I want them to know you do have some support. But as a parent as well, a lot don't know where to go. And I want them to know, if you talk more, you'd realize that the teachers are not much different from who you are. There's actually a bridge that can be connected. And that if we took the time to actually support one another versus fighting one another, that we can actually get something done. But then also teaching, I grew up in Fairfax. At the time, it was the second best school system in the nation. And so I was afforded the privilege to see some things while my family is from DC. And I just want to bring the same level of fight that we see in upper class neighborhoods, in upper class communities, to our neighborhood. I have the same exact problems as my Section 8 neighbor next door. And I love that woman, you know? And so I want to teach my community how to properly fight. So if there's some knowledge that I have that can show you how to get what you need and what you want for your baby, that's what I want to do. And so I want our PTO to really be about the business of doing that.
Amen.
Amy.
I mean, I think similarly, I'm trying to synthesize all these grumblings and these things that have been going on for years, these sort of unresolved feelings, and finding a way to articulate them so that somebody can do something about it and feel like there's an opportunity for that to happen. And what I want DCPS to do, and I think Brandi just said it so well earlier, is just to fund our schools. That, I mean, Eastern saw the first decent budget that we've seen in a long time to go a ways to get the things that we've been needing for years and years and years. And we've just been chronically underfunded, as other schools I know have in Ward 7 and 8. And DCPS needs to invest in the programs and in the schools to see success, because people are going to opt out if they're not finding good schools to go to. And our system allows for that to happen. And DCPS needs to fight harder for the schools that we have and for the communities that we have, and they're not.
Yeah.
I just, did everybody get a chance to share? I just want to say, because we're running out of time, I just want to share this for you all real quick. There was a principal at a Ward 8 high school who said something very succinct to me years ago. He ultimately quit over this because he saw, working from within the system, DCPS central office really didn't give a damn about academic success for all. That's the bottom line. And he quit his job when that became clear to him. I'm fighting hard over here in Ward 8, and y'all aren't supporting me, and y'all not trying to support me. And so that's the uphill fight that you all, I'm gonna tell you, you all have done something already by being leaders. You've already started that journey, doing something. I heard him mention, I want to teach them how to fight. You got to teach your army how to fight. You got to equip them with the weapons, the tools to fight, because that's what this is, a fight. And I'm excited because I feel encouraged because we got some great leaders here, great leaders. I've been listening to you all for an hour now, and I think your school's in good hands. You just need to have some more tools yourself, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to hear about things going forward, some great things. And so I want to really thank Valerie for putting this show together. I want to give anybody any you got about 30 seconds for a last comment, something you want to leave us with. Anybody?
I want to note that Brandi Reese is on the Boundary Committee, which was just formed to talk about the new boundaries for DCPS schools of right, which you all have kids at. And so I think it's really an exciting time. And I want to wish you the best. That's going to be quite a journey.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. The one thing that I would definitely like to say to all of you ladies and Mr. Bird, I think that we all probably need to connect more, because sometimes you can feel like you're in your own little island at your school. And Ms. Jablo just in the process of looking for individuals to be on this show, I found it to be hard because I didn't have names. You know, I was able to say, hey, maybe you want to call this person, but knowing that there are other individuals not far from my school that have the same objective, I think that, of course, we're stronger together than we are apart. And if we're able to connect our PTOs and really connect our communities to be able to show our parents at our schools that you do have some people fighting for you of all race, color, and creed, then we can actually get some effective change done. And so I really hope that we're able to connect outside of this show to be able to do some things.
And that's going to have to be the last word. A very powerful ending to a wonderful discussion. Thank you all. We've been joined by the Burrville Elementary School PTO President Asia Moon, Eastern High School PTO President Amy Weedon, Garfield Elementary PTO Treasurer Brandi Reese, Houston Elementary PTO President Shakuwra Camphor, and Hendley PTO President Ciera Gibson. I thank you all for this outstanding conversation. We will circle back with you very soon. I want to thank our technical director, Virginia Spatz, for the job that she does. And definitely want to thank my associate producer, Valerie Jablo, for putting together an outstanding show. And I want to say to those who have tuned in live as well as the replay, thank you for taking time to join us. And until we meet again, I want you to be good to somebody. This is your humble servant and host, Thomas Bird. Peace.